It officially happened. Donald Trump has made the first firing of this administration, and it is no other than Kristi Noem. And it is for one reason. It is not the reason that you're thinking or that it should be. It's not because on her watch Americans were killed in the streets. People were deported with no cause, with no due process. It's not because we have seen human rights abuses in the concentration camps that Donald Trump and Noem has built. No, it's because she's bad on TV. That's it. Kristi Noem is bad on TV, either because of her bad Botox seeping into her brain, or the fact that she just simply can't speak anymore and is maybe focused on the affair that she's having with Corey Lewandowski. But Kristi Noem is bad on TV, and that is how Donald Trump put together his administration. He was focused on finding all of the people who could and would spin for him. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Pam Bondi certainly hasn't done a great job with that. RFK Jr., I can barely understand what he says most of the time, but these people were put in place to be shameless, essentially Fox hosts to do state media, whether it be on Fox, CNN, CBS. That was their job, was to lie for Donald Trump, was to propagandize for them. And Kristi Noem has now failed at that. And believe me, she really, really tried. And I want to get into what Donald Trump had to say in his post about what comes next and the little sign-off he gave to Kristi. But I want to make sure that it's very clear that we know how hard Kristi Noem tried to be the TV host that Donald Trump wanted. She spent $220 million in a deliberate ad campaign to, one, enrich herself, but two, to appeal to Donald Trump. The fake Yellowstone episodes that she was shooting riding around on horseback were done in a targeted advertisement to Mar-a-Lago. Kristi Noem wanted Donald Trump to think that she was doing a swell job at DHS killing Americans because he could see her riding around on horseback on television. That is what Kristi Noem thought was good, doing her job. Not keeping Americans or the homeland safe. No. It was about appeasing Donald Trump. But she can't appease Donald Trump anymore because that $220 million she said that Trump approved of, that has him so pissed, is now the reason, along with her affair with Corey Lewandowski, that she is losing her job. And Donald Trump, boy, I got such a smile saying this, just announced it on Truth Social. Trump wrote on Truth Social, "Quite frankly, I am pleased to announce that the highly respected United States Senator from the, quite frankly, great state of Oklahoma, Markwayne Mullin, will become the United States Secretary of Homeland Security effective March 31st, 2026, the current Secretary, Kristi Noem, who has served us well, I guess that's all Trump has to say, quite frankly, served so well and has had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to be special envoy for the Shield of the Americas. The Shield of the Americas, our new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere we are announcing on Saturday in Doral, Florida. I thank Kristi Noem for her service at, quite frankly, Homeland. Wow, Kristi, big upgrade. Shield of the Americas. That sounds like a Marvel movie that underperforms at the box office. So congratulations on, I guess, securing yourself another opportunity, maybe to grift. I guess that's ultimately what this is going to be. But we do have to keep in mind that Kristi Noem, again, wasn't just playing those ads for Donald Trump. I want to make it very clear that that's one of the big reasons, but also because she saw herself as a future face, a Botox-filled face, I guess a Mar-a-Lago face of the Republican Party. All of these people in the cabinet understand that there is a little room for the next generation of MAGA. Marco Rubio is trying to fill it. J.D. Vance is wholly consumed with it, and it makes him very uncomfortable to look at or hear from in public. But all of these people see their opportunity. Now, what should that tell you about Donald Trump? The people closest to him see a lane for them to jump in and kind of steal the MAGA spotlight. I think it tells us a lot about where his head is at. I largely believe that this was Stephen Miller finally getting his get back at Kristi Noem after they fought following the death of Renee Nicole Good and, of course, Alex Preddy, that they were going to war with each other. Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, was also chiming in. So I believe this is Stephen Miller more than it is Donald Trump. He's certainly pissed. He doesn't like the bad publicity. But let me say one thing about the vote upcoming in the Senate, because there will be a vote to confirm Markwayne Mullin, the senator from Oklahoma. If a single Democrat not named John Fetterman, because that guy's not a Democrat, votes for this, you're a fucking traitor, and you're signing off on Americans dying. I know that everyone in the Senate is buddies with everybody in the Senate, and I think that should make us incredibly uncomfortable, especially when it comes to Democrats. We see like Chuck Schumer giggling like a schoolgirl with Marco Rubio at the State of the Union, and I'm going to go ahead and say maybe that's not the most comfortable thing in the world for all of us, but no one should be voting for him. And I think now is the opportunity to make the case, and especially during a confirmation hearing, ask some tough questions. And that's why it would be insane for the party not to get behind abolishing ICE. The Senate right now is holding up funding more broadly for DHS, but we also have the opportunity in a very high-stakes, televised set of confirmation hearings to push and to show why Markwayne Mullin will be no more qualified than Kristi Noem, and how the job isn't about qualifications, it is about hurting people and making a show. There's no defense of the homeland. It's not a thing that's happening. And if there needs to be, it is because Donald Trump has just put us in more danger. You saw Republican Congressman Mike Lawler the other day say Democrats we are putting the country in danger by refusing to fund DHS as Donald Trump escalates a war. Well, to me, that kind of sounds like Donald Trump escalating a war we don't need, puts us in danger, and maybe the fault should then be with Donald Trump, not Democrats wanting to fund his murderous standing army. But Kristi Noem, I want to close on you. I want to talk more about your affair and so much else, but you screwed it. How did you manage to get yourself fired from this administration? How are you that bad? How are you that bad of a communicator? How are you that bad of a stooge for the audience of one that is Donald Trump? It is embarrassing that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, I guess the useful idiots they are, serving the purpose they do, have so bungled Donald Trump's Epstein cover-up that not even they have been fired before you. That is how bad you are at your job. So today is a hilarious day for making fun of Kristi Noem, and I'm glad that Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, while so many, it's been months now, ignored the fact that Kristi Noem has not just herself and her staff been abusing the slush fund that they've been given. By the way, some Democrats voted for that slush fund in the Senate. I'm looking at you, Alyssa Slotkin, right? You voted to confirm Kristi Noem. You voted for that Lake and Riley Act. You better turn things around. You're talking about wanting to fund the war in Iran, right? You're going to have to turn this around. Here's an opportunity to not just be like a neo-lib and give Donald Trump all the money that he wants. But I would say, please take this opportunity. Please take this opportunity to make an actual case. Please take this opportunity to talk about the corruption. Corey Lewandowski also out of a job today, so that's a tough blow for him. But thank you, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, for actually bringing that up. I don't know how we can't talk more about these issues of corruption. It just seems like such a layup to me. And on that, I do want to end with that corruption. Both Jamie Raskin and also, of course, Kristi Noem being asked about her affair, which, by the way, we covered on the show for like the last 3 months. And it's another great example of how the mainstream media, I guess I'd say, is a little bit more than a little bought out now that the Ellisons have soon to be CNN. But that's where I want to end. Kristi Noem getting humiliated. The two clips that most directly led to her losing her job. It's the only place that we can close. And quite frankly, it's going to be so beautiful. I think I may pop some champagne.
Like a personal slush fund, you budgeted an astonishing $220 million for media consultant contracts so you can star in self-promoting photo shoots and lavish ad campaigns like this one of you riding horseback at Mount Rushmore, which was shot during last year's government shutdown. You're living rent-free in the official waterfront residence reserved for the commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard. You spent $172 million to buy not one, but 2 luxury jets for your travel, and now you're using taxpayer funds to lease a third jet, a $70 million luxury 737 MAX with a queen-size bedroom in the back, a deluxe serving bar, and 4 flat-screen TVs. A big, beautiful jet paid for by the big, beautiful bill. Yesterday, under questioning the Senate, you said you plan to refurbish this jet to make it into this kind of airplane, which is what's actually being used for deportations in order to save the taxpayers' money. In other words, you're saying that's actually a deportation plane. But wouldn't it have been cheaper just to buy a deportation plane in the first place? It's like buying a Rolls Royce to turn into a Metro bus. I was almost prepared to buy that story of how the jet was both for executive travel and mass deportation. And then I heard about an airborne episode of entitlement, arrogance, and contempt that I could hardly believe. Apparently, when your special blanket, your blankie, was left on one of the government jets and not transported over the new one, your special government employee, Corey Lewandowski, chivalrously stepped forward to fire the pilot midair. A 2003 Coast Guard Academy graduate and distinguished U.S. Coast Guard commander in Air Station, Washington, D.C. But then he had to be rehired immediately because there was no one else who could fly the two of you on the rest of the journey back home.
You've called Corey Lewandowski a special government employee. I understand what government means. I understand what employee means, okay? But I don't know what makes him special. Now, I want to give you an opportunity to answer on the record to Ms. Kamlager-Dove's question. I know you said it's garbage, and it may be, but I really think you need to say the word no into the record so that you can clear that up.
I think the ridiculousness of this and the tabloids that you are quoting and referencing are insane. And this has been something that I've refuted for years, and I continue to do do that.
So it's a no.
What I would tell you is,
we can move on.
Hold
on.
What you're
doing, we can move on. I'm not going to belabor it.
This is what you do.
Hold on. I'm not doing anything.
Liberal left is you go off and you attack conservative women and you say that we're either stupid
I haven't
or
said
we're
anything.
Sluts.
All right, so listen.
And that's what you do.
Yesterday, Richard, reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman, reclaiming my time. You were asked by Richard Blumenthal yesterday. You were asked by Richard Blumenthal yesterday if Corey was involved in improving contracts. You said no. Do you want to correct that?
What I would say is that he has an advisor to the Department of Homeland Security, has no
Madam Secretary,
decision-making
do you want to correct
authority.
it? Yes or no? You don't want to correct
no
it? Fine.
decision-making authority,
Hold
no
on.
role in
Not a
contract.
problem. According to one of the FEMA administrators that you fired, there is nothing, including contracts, that is brought to you that he hasn't reviewed. In fact, a significant amount of DHS internal routing documents has his signature on it above deputy secretaries. Okay? That former FEMA administrator wasn't fired by you, the secretary. He was fired by Corey. It was Corey that called him into your office. It was Corey that made him to submit to a polygraph test. The $100,000 spending rule that you created that comes to your desk, you're not even sitting at your desk. It's Corey who's sitting there. ISIS said the Republicans should be happy at the job that you're doing. Really? You're looking at the person who single-handedly took the president's signature core issue, immigration, the issue that got him elected from 59% to 39%. 200 miles of border walls being held up by you. They had to bring in Tom Homan, pull out of Minnesota. I think the country needs a national divorce from you on biblical grounds. I mean, if Donald Trump was still apprentice Trump, he would look at you and he would realize you're the weakest cabinet member and he would fire you. And if the president said to you that only way DHS could reopen is if you resigned, I hope you would take him up on it. Now, I want to end on a happy note, Mr. Chairman, real quickly. The president gave all sorts of stuff out during the State of the Union. I don't want you to leave. I got you a new Coast Guard blankie, the one you lost. Okay, so this is for you. You don't leave empty-handed when you come to judiciary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman has expired. The gentleman from Missouri is recognized.
Just lovely to see. Brings a smile to my face. And how couldn't? It's a wonderful day. I wouldn't call this accountability yet. Kristi, I hope you can learn from your appearances before the Senate and House and maybe beef up on your responses before the Nuremberg trials that are coming to you. But that is what's coming to you. So you can prepare for that. You got time to do your homework. Maybe you can get your lip fillers dissolved and take care of whatever else is happening in your face. You have a lot of money to spend that you stole from us, so good for you, but accountability is coming.